Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Perhaps you know the old story about the farmer and the mule. It seems that a mule fell into an old, out-of-use well one day. The farmer heard its caterwauling and saw the problem, but had no way to get the mule out. Realizing that the mule was old as well and not really in much use around the farm, he started to shovel dirt into the well to bury the animal and put it out of its misery. But when the dirt landed on the mule's back, it shrugged it off and stepped up on the dirt. This happened over and over until the mule was able to jump out of the hole. This week we're spending our time exploring some of the miracles of Jesus that we might not know very well. Some of Jesus' miracles are reflected in our Sunday morning scriptures, so we hear about them from time to time. But most of the stories we are looking at this week aren't used for Sunday worship. In other cases, they might be a small miracle that might not seem to speak to us. Or they might even be a miracle a lot like other miracles that we do know. That story about the mule is often used as a parable to encourage us when we face adversity. It advises us to shake it off and step up. But it also comes to mind when we think about the miracle of Jesus healing a man with dropsy. Now, to be frank, to me, dropsy sounds like one of those diseases your grandparents talked about, something they just called some disease that really had another correct name. But actually, dropsy is an unusual swelling in the body, nowadays often called edema, and sometimes it's a symptom of congestive heart failure. So one day Jesus had been invited to eat at the home of a prominent Pharisee, and everyone was watching him to see if he would honor his host by good behavior or whether he would do something scandalous like he often did. Jesus didn't disappoint them. Suddenly a man with dropsy was there among them. Some scholars suspect that he was a plant by the Pharisees to see what Jesus would do. You see, it was the Sabbath, and Jesus already had a history of healing people on the Sabbath. He'd done it twice before. And while that's not a big deal to us, it was in those days. Well, just like that, Jesus healed him. And then he looked at the Pharisees, all ready to pounce on him, and said, "If your son or donkey or ox falls in a well on the Sabbath, wouldn't you get it out?" And they couldn't answer him at all. Some might debate about the ox or the donkey, but no one would leave their son down in the well until the next day. They conceded the point. And here's the point for us. Jesus saves us from the holes we fall into as well. Whether it's financial worries, health problems, family troubles, depression, whatever our problem is, Jesus is with us in the midst of it. Jesus enters into our deep, dark well and stands with us. And Jesus leads us into his embracing arms of love and grace, wherever, whenever, however, forever. Jesus knew that compassion for this man with dropsy was the most important thing. It was the most important thing to give new life and renewal to someone, and that was the best possible use of the Sabbath. And just like that, Jesus calls us to live an active, compassionate care for others as an act of praise to God. And that's more important than the days of the week, or political ideologies, or race, or class, or what nation you come from, or any of those other things that we think are important or afraid of that we use to divide up our world. This is a quiet little miracle, not given a whole lot of attention or detail. But the point is clear. We are loved with an unending love, and we are called to live in that love, wherever, whenever, however, forever. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.